We should be worried, a lot more worried, about emigration, not immigration. Immigration. You know, it's such a huge hook, immigration, for politicians, particularly Conservatives and the Nigel Farage's party Reform, because it gets people feeling as if someone is coming over here and taking something that they shouldn't be taking. But there's really important things to understand about immigration, and Britain really needs immigration. And there's a fundamental, basic reason for this. It's because since the 1960s, we have all had less children. We had a baby boom after the war, and that generation are living longer than ever. And they are the top heavy, biggest population by far. And of course, they're all working less. I'm one of them, just. And when I was growing up, and just after I'd finished school and went into the workforce, I faced huge competition for jobs because we were the largest generation by far. And it's the polar opposite now, in that many of my generation have gone on to have less children or no children at all. And this means that the workforce is shrinking. And if you don't believe me, have a listen to the person responsible for trying to get people back into work, who's the chief executive of REC.
The other thing is just to remember that there's an awful lot of opportunity out there. I mean, over 30 million people work in our labour market every week. And part of the story here, and we haven't talked about it yet, is the domestic labour force is just getting smaller. And that's because the baby boomer generation is much bigger than the generations that follow. It
is the case that we need immigration because the workforce is shrinking. And there has been a view, a myth, a narrative, a false narrative built that we are overcrowded and we can't fit any more people in. That's been said to me so many times. And the reason that people feel overcrowded is not because there's too many people here. It's because the country is broken. It's because a lot of the local services have been broken. We used to all have local cottage hospitals. We've gone with a system which is all about lots of people going to one big super hospital, supposedly to save costs. And the road network is a mess. We got rid of our world-beating railway network after the beaching cuts. And most of that was because there was a view that everybody would own a car and that railways wouldn't be needed anymore, and that it was really to put the money into building a road network. Well, you know, it's no surprises really looking back. That road network has not been built adequately, and we are gridlocked. But we're not gridlocked because we're overcrowded or overpopulated. We're gridlocked because our system is not working. And if we look at countries like Germany, they still have cottage hospitals and local communities. And all of that has been lost. And a lot of us tend to go back to Thatcher and think it started with that. But actually, it didn't. It began before then, and perhaps it's always been here because of our voting system. The first past the post voting system ends up in two big parties competing for power, and they put their parties and power before the country. And this is meaning that we have a broken country and nothing is working for the majority, apart from the super rich who can come in and get what they want by getting the attention of these big parties and saying, I'll give you this much if you do this for me. And the people are left discarded, and we're seeing exactly this with the post office scandal. It's only now come to light because a film was made about it, and now suddenly the politicians are all falling over themselves to talk about this. And I do believe that a lot of this is why people did think that Brexit was a solution. I don't believe many people voted Brexit knowing that it was going to be damaging for Britain. I think they thought things are so bad, let's try anything to see if it makes things better. But I fundamentally believe Britain needs a new voting system, Britain needs a written constitution, and Britain needs to come to terms with the reality and struggles that we have. You know, I remember my great aunt. She was one of the people that went over to Australia for the £10 tickets because Australia needed immigration. And I often think about that Australia and Canada have always been, and New Zealand, they've always been welcoming to immigration because they've accepted that they need people. And somebody on this farm here that works here is going to work in Australia, going off next week because they've been offered a better job and a better career path than they can ever get in this country. Really, we should be worried, a lot more worried about emigration, not immigration, particularly for agriculture, but in every sector, the National Health Service, everything, in every sector we're struggling because we don't have enough people. And the beauty of freedom of movement is that a lot of people come over here, do their work, save up, and then they go back again. Bad politicians used immigration as a hook to make people think that all of our problems were here because of people coming over here, making it crowded. And that is just fundamentally untrue.